I think that one of the reasons that we have been so successful and we've been able to accomplish all these things is because of the unbelievably fast pace that we keep.
They became the sound of the holidays, voices rising in perfect harmony, no instruments, no distractions, just pure joy. But behind the flawless performances and festive smiles, Pentatonix were quietly carrying burdens few fans ever noticed. Fame arrived fast, and with it came pressure, isolation, and personal struggles that couldn't be harmonized away. While the world saw Grammy wins and viral hits, each member was fighting battles off stage, some emotional, some deeply painful. This is the side of Pentatonix rarely talked about, and once you hear it, their story feels very different. 5 voices, no instruments, just raw talent that reshaped what a cappella could be. From winning the sing-off to selling out world tours and collecting Grammy awards, Pentatonix appeared to be living the dream. A close-knit musical family riding a wave of viral success. On stage, their chemistry felt effortless, their smiles genuine. To the public, it was perfection in harmony. But the image fans saw was only part of the story. Behind the polished performances were quiet struggles, emotional weight, unspoken tensions, and private battles that clashed with the group's flawless public image. Each member faced pressure in different ways, questions of identity, mental health challenges, and the exhausting demand to always appear joyful, grateful, and on. The cost of success was mounting, even as the applause grew louder. When founding member Avi Kaplan announced his departure in 2017, it shocked fans around the world. His exit wasn't dramatic or scandalous. It was heartfelt and painful. For many, it felt like something fundamental had broken. If Pentatonix was truly a family, why would someone walk away at the height of success? His decision hinted at deeper issues that had never been fully addressed in public. After that moment, things subtly changed. The group moved forward, new dynamics formed, and the music continued. But longtime fans noticed the shift. The energy felt different. The connection was still there, but something had been lost. Rumors circulated quietly, and questions lingered about what was really happening behind the scenes. The real tragedy wasn't just one member leaving. It was the invisible weight each of them carried. The pressure that comes when passion turns into obligation, when creativity becomes a constant expectation, and when personal pain has no space to breathe. Success demanded everything, even when it hurt. As their story unfolds, one truth becomes clear. Harmony has a cost, and it's not always audible in the music. What really happened behind closed doors? Why did Avi step away? How did fame test their friendships? And which moments nearly tore the group apart? The answers are more complicated and far sadder than anyone expected. In a quiet Texas town, 3 high school friends had no idea they were laying the foundation for a group that would one day redefine a cappella music. Scott Hoying, Kirsten Maldonado, and Mitch Grassi weren't just classmates at Martin High School in Arlington. They were creative kindred spirits. Music became their refuge. Scott brought vision and leadership. Kirsten's voice carried clarity and power, and Mitch's bold personality and theatrical flair made every harmony feel alive. They sang wherever they could, hallways, classrooms, anywhere sound could echo. Their connection went beyond music. Each of them felt like an outsider in different ways. But when they sang together, that feeling disappeared. Their first brush with attention came after submitting a cover of Lady Gaga's Telephone to a local radio contest. They didn't win, but the performance revealed something undeniable: chemistry, ambition, and a spark that refused to fade. Years later, Scott enrolled at the University of Southern California and joined the renowned SoCal Vocals a cappella group. That's when he heard about NBC's The Sing-Off. Instinct told him this was the moment. He immediately reached out to Mitch and Kirsten, urging them to try out together. But the competition required 5 members, including a bass and a beatboxer, so the search for the missing pieces began. That's when Avi Kaplan entered the picture. A classically trained vocal bass with a deep, commanding tone, he brought weight and richness to the sound. Then came Kevin Olusola, a Yale graduate whose viral cello boxing, playing cello while beatboxing, defied expectations. His style was unlike anything the a cappella world had seen. Remarkably, the five met just one day before their audition. It was all the time they needed. From the moment they stepped on stage, their presence was undeniable. Their arrangements were sharp, their sound daring, and their harmonies fearless. They didn't just perform songs, they reinvented them. Week after week, they stood out, pushing boundaries and captivating audiences. When Pentatonix won the Sing-Off in 2011, it felt like a breakthrough, not just for them, but for anyone who had ever felt unheard. Yet once the celebration ended, reality set in. Signed to Epic Records, they quickly discovered that the industry didn't quite know what to do with an instrument-free group. Seen as risky and unconventional, they faced uncertainty just as their real journey was beginning. Within months, Pentatonix was dropped by its record label. For most artists, that would have been the end. For them, it became a reset. They turned to YouTube, recording a cappella covers from their apartment and reshaping pop hits with their now distinct PTX sound. The videos were simple but striking, and the response was immediate. Views climbed into the millions, subscribers followed, and a fiercely loyal fan base, the Pentatonix, was born. They began releasing music independently, starting with PTX Volume 1 in 2012, followed by PTXM and Volume 2. Without industry backing, they built momentum on their own terms. But as the music soared, pressure quietly built behind the scenes. Their success depended on perfection. Every note exposed, every harmony scrutinized, every performance expected to feel effortless. That constant demand came at a cost. No one felt it more deeply than Avi Kaplan. Reserved and introspective, Avi valued solitude, nature, and a slower pace of life. Endless touring, public appearances, and life under a spotlight clashed with who he was at his core. He loved the music, but the lifestyle was draining him. In 2017, Avi made the difficult decision to step away. He announced his departure in an emotional video, explaining it wasn't about conflict, but exhaustion. He spoke openly about missing his family, struggling to feel connected to the music, and losing touch with the reasons he fell in love with singing in the first place. His words landed heavily with fans. Avi's exit marked more than a lineup change. It felt like the end of an era. His voice had given the group warmth and depth, but his presence had been just as important. He left with grace and honesty, but the loss was deeply felt. The mountains, the quiet, and home were calling him back. The remaining members faced a crossroads, stop or continue. They chose to move forward. Enter Matt Sally, a gifted vocalist with a powerful range and natural stage presence. On paper, he was a perfect fit, but replacing a founding member was never going to be easy. The transition was rocky. Fans were divided, comparisons were constant, and the group had to relearn how to function as a unit. The sound shifted. The chemistry evolved. Even as Pentatonix continued releasing successful albums, touring globally, and winning Grammys, there was an undercurrent of grief. Not from failure, but from change. Matt brought fresh energy, but Avi's absence lingered. In a genre where every voice is exposed, blending again took time. Longtime fans felt it too. The music remained polished and ambitious, but something had undeniably changed. Pentatonix survived, but harmony, once broken and remade, is never quite the same. What truly sets Pentatonix apart isn't just vocal brilliance, it's endurance. To the public, the group looked unstoppable. Sold-out world tours, millions of YouTube views, and Christmas albums dominating the charts year after year. But behind the polished performances, the pressure was relentless. As expectations grew, Schedules tightened, breaks disappeared, and the joy that once came easily began to feel harder to reach. At the center of it all was Scott Hoying, the group's natural frontman and emotional anchor. Always smiling, always reassuring, Scott quietly carried the responsibility of keeping the group together. Over time, that role became exhausting. Loving the fans didn't change the reality of constant output and nonstop momentum, and the weight slowly wore on his creative spirit. Mitch Grassi, known for his soaring vocals and fearless style, began searching for space beyond the group. Alongside Scott, he launched Superfruit, a side project that let them explore bolder, pop-driven ideas. It wasn't an escape from Pentatonix, but a release valve, a way to express parts of themselves that didn't always fit within group harmony. Kirsten Maldonado, the only woman in the lineup, also felt the pull toward independence. After years of blending her voice into an ensemble, she began releasing solo music and experimenting with pop and R&B. For her, it was about reclaiming space, discovering who she was when she no longer had to soften herself for the sake of balance. During the long pause brought on by the pandemic, Mitch Grassi began to change in visible ways. Always the most daring and enigmatic voice in Pentatonix, Mitch used the downtime to step fully into his own creative world. Under the name Messer, he explored a darker electronic sound that felt far removed from polished harmonies. His EP Roses, released in August 2021, was raw, introspective, and unapologetically personal. Through music and fashion alike, Mitch examined identity, freedom, and self-expression. Yet that freedom came with solitude. In interviews, he hinted at the loneliness that can follow vulnerability in an industry that demands perfection. For longtime fans, it was a powerful evolution. Mitch wasn't just reinventing himself, he was showing what it means to break free. Kirsten Maldonado was navigating her own quiet transformation. For years, she carried the weight of being both the only woman in the group and one of its emotional anchors. As she entered her 30s, her strength shifted from performance to honesty. She returned to solo music with a clearer voice, openly addressing heartbreak, anxiety, and self-worth. Her debut solo EPLOVE became a space to explore parts of herself that had been sidelined during Pentatonix's rise. Kirsten spoke candidly about how hard she had fought to be seen and respected in a male-dominated industry. Her confidence wasn't loud, but it was earned. The voice once woven into harmony now stood on its own, shaped by resilience. For Kevin Olusola, the pandemic marked a deeply personal turning point. Becoming a father shifted his priorities and grounded him in ways fame never had. He leaned into faith, family, and balance, determined to remain part of Pentatonix without losing himself. In May 2025, he released his solo album, Dawn of a Misfit, a project that reflected growth and authenticity. Blending pop, classical influences, instrumental pieces, and his signature cello and beatboxing style, the album revealed new layers of his artistry. One song, dedicated to his daughter Kaya, captured his transformation most clearly. Kevin remained the group's steady pulse, but now he stood firmly as a man guided by purpose, not pressure. When Matt Sally first stepped into Pentatonix, the pressure was immense. Avi Kaplan's absence still hung over the group, and comparisons were unavoidable. At first, Matt was seen as the new guy, quietly trying to find his place. Over time, though, his journey became one of the most meaningful. He earned trust slowly, through consistency, humility, and respect for what came before him. While his growth wasn't loud or dramatic, it was deeply personal. Matt has spoken openly about struggling with imposter syndrome, about needing to prove himself not just to fans, but to his own inner doubts. In January 2022, he married Sarah Bishop, and the birth of their daughter added a new sense of grounding to his life. Today, Matt isn't a replacement. He's family, fully woven into the group's identity. More than a decade after their sing-off debut, Pentatonix stands as far more than a Grammy-winning act. They reshaped how the world sees a cappella, taking a genre once considered niche and turning it into something global, viral, and commercially viable. But their real legacy isn't just innovation, it's endurance. They survived label rejection, burnout, a founding member's departure, and the shifting demands of an unforgiving industry. Instead of breaking, they adapted. Their story is ultimately about transformation. 5 individuals learning how to grieve change, speak honestly, and grow without losing one another. They showed that harmony isn't just about blending voices. It's about listening, holding tension, and making space for difference. Real harmony, as they learned, takes effort. As of 2026, Pentatonix continues to tour internationally, with holiday releases still defining the season for millions. Original music has taken on a larger role, offering a deeper look into their emotional lives and creative ambitions. Solo projects and collaborations remain part of their future, alongside a more intentional approach to music, less about volume, more about meaning. What comes next is uncertain. Another reinvention, another award, or perhaps one day a graceful farewell. For now, Pentatonix remains a living example of how to stay together through loss, healing, and change, and still find harmony in the sound. Now we want to hear from you. Which Pentatonix member's journey affected you the most, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you appreciate deep, honest stories about the real lives behind the music, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story.